Let me first start with sharing my screen. All right. So first and foremost, well, you all see the architect take on data governance slide.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So first, Nadina, Justin, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in front of y'all this meeting, and thank you all for taking time today. And I'm excited to share about an architect's take on data governance with y'all. So that's a bit about myself. As I mentioned, I'm a CGL for Salesforce Architect Group for Fort Worth, Texas. I work at Slalom. I have about 12 certifications and two accreditations with Salesforce. I'm also Google Cloud certified and PMP certified in addition to Salesforce. And I'm right now mentoring 10, 12 businesses as a part of 12 Business Connect mentorship program. And I'm looking forward to become a Red Woman coach. And thank you again for taking time. I know days are busy. We have jobs, families, friends, and we all are here. So I want to respect that time. And thank you so much for being here. So, okay, so I planned this brief conversation about data governance. Data governance is a very vast topic by itself. For today, we are going to focus on this agenda that you see over here. First, we'll briefly examine the need for data governance, then look at the difference between data governance and data management, then do a dive deep into the 5 building blocks that we should think of while guiding the clients to set up the governance or getting started to implement in your own organization. And lastly, we are going to look at a handful of metrics to measure the success of the governance program. Okay, so let's revisit the need of data governance. I use the word revisit because we have all seen the importance of data governance one way or the other while working with your clients, while working within your own org. And I'm going to cover a few key aspects, and we will look into those aspects shortly. So the first one is data quality. It is critical for any CRM system to have high quality data, and that includes Salesforce. Data governance ensures that the data entered into Salesforce is accurate, complete, and consistent. And improving on these quality elements in turn improves the accuracy of your sales forecast, your marketing campaigns, your customer service, customer satisfaction, and so on. So, one thing about data quality, although you can potentially improve the quality of your existing data retroactively, ensuring the high quality data from its point of ingestion is much better. So the data quality is kind of built within, and think of running reports and enriching data later versus ensuring only high quality data goes into the system. The latter is much better. Either way, one way or the other, whichever you want to go with, data governance helps shape better data in the system. Now, let's talk about compliance for a bit. Many more, or rather, most organizations are subject to regulatory requirements, be it a GDPR, CCP requirement, or industry specific like HIPAA for healthcare, or FINRA for FinServ. Companies need to adhere to these standards and regulations. And data governance can help ensure that Salesforce is configured and used in compliance with these regulations. For example, let's say you are in a financial services industry and you are subject to FINRA 17A4 compliance. What that means is you gotta make sure that all the communication is stored properly according to the guidelines. Now, if you already have policies within your org that guides to stay in compliance, your developers, architects will think of these as more proactively. And let's say you want to implement Slack, which is not well, which is configurable for 17A4 so that you can stay in compliance. So architects will think on that way, and they'll basically make sure that they're guiding the developers appropriately. Next one is security. So Salesforce, being a CRM, needless to say, stores sensitive data. It's a customer data, business data, and so on. And not limited to just that, sometimes Salesforce is used as an identity provider. Now, depending on the nature of the business, the clients can have frequent onboarding, offboarding of the users, so it becomes critical. There may be Experience Cloud in the mix. So now you got external users, which are your partners and customers. Over a period of time, your Salesforce org in general matures with Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, FSC, or even multi-cloud org kind of setting there. So in short, Salesforce holds a wealth of data, and that data now is a target for cyber attacks. You all know that. So data governance can help ensure that Salesforce is configured with appropriate security measures to basically protect against these unauthorized access or data breaches. So you set policies around your, let's say, API, or make your system health checks part of the routine or part of some cadence there. Another example of governance policy would be checking for security is part of your code review. So you basically check the code, like is it checking running as different users? It is checking for without sharing part of the config on the classes, how they're set up, and so on. So it basically you start building that culture. Okay, now speaking of data sharing, this is a big one for the architects because Salesforce enables users to share data across your org to improve collaboration and decision making. And additionally, clients may have, or your company may have Quip or Slack in the mix from collaboration perspective. Some users might send emails from Salesforce to various other stakeholders, or even download reports and files from Salesforce. That said, data governance is required to ensure that data is shared only with the authorized users, and that data sharing is done in compliance and regulatory requirements and internal policies. So, for example, you put some policies around some report exports, and I did mention a few of the words that I mentioned earlier because they all kind of gel together one way or the other. You can't really say, oh, this block is about this or this part is about that. So that's kind of overarching part. Okay, so the last one is the integration. So many organizations integrate Salesforce with other systems such as marketing automation or ERP systems, and we talked about how Salesforce. I'm not going to get into that again. But data governance sets policies that influence the design decisions for architects about whether to bring data in Salesforce or not. And in summary, data governance is required for Salesforce to ensure data accuracy, compliance, security, and sharing. So there you have it. That's the list. So by implementing data governance best practices, organizations can improve the effectiveness of their Salesforce deployments and gain insights into their operations. Okay, we're going to switch gears a bit. Let's talk about difference between data governance and data management. So I was in a meeting with a client, and the primary focus of that meeting was how Salesforce can handle leads. So, and we had 2-3 architects from client side join us, and a few other business leaders, and it was basically one of those earlier conversations during our discovery. And this was the first time we were implementing Salesforce, so client was new to Salesforce. So anyway, we're talking about lead conversion, and the client architect had a question about how to identify a lead record. Like how do you say this is a lead record? And from that point onwards, the meeting took turn, and it became all about data management. And more interestingly, that person who I referred earlier, they were using the data governance and MDM and data management terms interchangeably. And this wasn't the first time that has happened with me, and I'm sure you must have come across similar conversations. So let's look at the difference on what those are. So data governance and data management are two different but related concepts. So data governance is a architectural blueprint that takes people, process, metrics into account, and it's a broader concept that encompasses all aspects of data management, including data quality, security, privacy, so on. And we're going to talk more about this shortly. On the other hand, data management refers to processes, tools, technologies used to manage that organization's data. It involves cleansing, standardization, archiving, all those type of activities. So if you think about data governance as a blueprint, then you can think of data management as its outcome. So, and speaking of master data, it is the core data that is shared across the organization and is used to functions like sales, financial, marketing, and so on. So some of the examples of MDM would be, or master data would be customer data, product catalog, and so on. Okay, so now let's jump into the next one. Okay, we talked about need for data governance, how it differs from data management. Now let's unpack these 5 building blocks: definition, ownership, availability, security, and quality. As I mentioned earlier, this is a vast topic, and if you're getting started, then these 5 blocks will help you lay the foundation. So to consider for each of these, and sometimes it is really hard to generalize. Speaking of generalization, all generalizations are false, including this one by Mark Twain. Just thought I'd just put it there. Sorry, I couldn't stop myself from adding that slide there. Okay. So the first block is definition. Data governance involves providing the definitions of what it means for business and users. For example, what is a lead versus what is a contact? Depending on business model, a lead could be someone with just a name and a method of contact, maybe a phone or email. That's good enough for a lead. Whereas a contact would be someone with a valid address, company, and in some cases, it may even require to have SSN and other IDs. So, totally depending on your scenario, you get the point. Um, Part of setting up data governance is deploying the rules around the tools and technology. So basically, you're shepherding the mechanism for auditing the data. Which, another example would be what is the entity that is a customer, and importantly, what is not a customer. Because some of the clients I come across, they say, "Hey, we don't even consider that record as a customer record unless the sale is made." Sure. So we want our clients or stakeholders, I should say, to have clear definition and provide those to their users. Then look at the significant impact and take that action, how to improve that. Having a data council might help. So it may be even under the umbrella of COE or a separate one, and we can talk about that in a few minutes from now about that committee. Okay, so executive sponsorship. So having executive sponsorship is key to aligning business and IT together. I cannot stress this enough, how important it is to have a sponsor for various reasons, right from budgetary perspective to playing a referee in some conflicts, and that includes ownership, of course. As an architect, you work with them to provide clear rules of determining the ownership. For example, business stakeholders own the data, IT stakeholders own the solution. And then with the executive leadership support, you set accountability for good governance. Does that look like a Pac-Man, or is it just me? Okay, I feel I was so close to making like Pac-Man theme, but yeah. Anyway, so speaking of the next one, availability. So basically, you have to remove the noise and evaluate the impact while shepherding the user experience over here. Putting all the fields on the same page may not be a good strategy in every case. Some users say, "Oh yeah, we prefer all the fields over there because we don't have to click next, next, next while filling this up." Some users might say, "We need some guidance. It's a lot to take in. I don't feel like filling all the details there." So make the data available only when it is needed. And this principle applies not just to integration or custom code, but it influences some of the design considerations. For example, are we going to use Omni Studio Flex cards? So that's going to make it a little bit better and more consumable for the users. And from data governance perspective, it is important to make the data available when needed, and in fact, only when needed. And if you do this, you'll be buddies with the compliance team, and stating the obvious, your users will like the product. In turn, your leadership will like you. So you got to think about all these aspects. Now, let's one more point about analytics. So think about analytics aspect during your implementation. Think how far back in time your analytics should look for that data. Sometimes regulations guide you on that. So understanding the customer behavior, we have to keep that data for 7 years. But if you are looking for that 7 years data and how the customers behave, that may not be as valuable on focusing in last 3 years. So let's say, the pandemic happened and then customer behaviors, materially change after that. So think about your regulations, then consider how much data is relevant for your analytics, and then go from there. And of course, make sure your data is auditable and traceable. This is becoming increasing. Moving on to next, privacy. Privacy is crucial in building trust. And as an architect, you shape the policies or even design solutions that enable users to respect the privacy. Make sure you comply with all the data retention and data transport policies, build security around sensitive information like that, fields like PHI, PII, PCI, etc. And Salesforce has provided the tools to make that happen. And as a part of governance, you set the guidelines on using those tools. Protecting sensitive data is critical while working with external users like channel partners, clients, and of course, internal users. So another part is having a mechanism to hide data on request. Some business must comply with GDPR, CCPA, and provide right to forget to their users. So governance can help with those policies and that structure. And last but not least, our Pac-Man moves on to quality. So measure the data quality actively. We talked about this earlier when we were discussing the why for data governance. So set up the reports and dashboards for checking data quality. Look for missing data, for example, leads with blank email or contacts without billing zip code, whatever your business needs. And correct that data to improve the quality, to enrich data, accountable users to take the corrective action, and set up user training so that they will be more proactive going forward. We talked about building quality, so let's use that training to get started with that, and make this progress visible. So set up a dashboard showing data quality improvement over a period of time, and review the progress with leaders or supervisors or middle management, in general stakeholders, to take some solid action. Okay, this is the full picture now. So the benefits or advantages of setting up data governance would include cost efficiencies, better adoption by users. It also brings agility within dev teams and faster speed to market. Who doesn't like that? Data governance leads to high compliance with regulatory and security environments, and it will basically enable your org to be or to take to have proactive response to potential risks for your stakeholders. And in general, it will make your Salesforce org happy. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a bit. We talked or referenced the data governance committee. So from governance point of view, in general, we have steering committee or COE, Center of Excellence, and data governance committee. And let's break those down a little bit. The steering committee owns the overall vision and strategy for Salesforce implementation. COE strives to get value out of that implementation by synergizing business requirements and technical functionalities they all together. Data governance committee monitors the data usability as well as data quality. So some of the duties that you see on the screen are maintaining unified business definitions, ensuring compliance to data privacy across the enterprise, not just Salesforce, enforcing data security standards, managing data backup and archiving, guiding consistent data model. So there is some consistency on how we manage and maintain that data definitions and that mapping, and few other. One thing, lastly, is the managing the communication is a huge factor. So it feels like, is it my responsibility here as a part of member of data governance committee? Sure. So managing communications has much wider and deeper impacts because now users know when something changed, why it changed, and how to go about it. And if you are getting started with data governance committee, here is the starting point for you. You need these stakeholders like data architects, management representatives from DNA or data analytics team, InfoSec SMEs, compliance SMEs, and product owners. And again, this is not a prescriptive list by any means. It's meant to be a starting point. And some of the stakeholders like product owners, depending on if you have multiple POs, you have different teams, all of them may not be necessary. They could be invited as on demand, but we do need their engagement at some point to how to actually implement that governance policies. So that's just a starting point for you. All right. Now, to wrap this all up, so let's talk about measuring the success. So we got to measure it in case we want to improve it. So there are two angles of measuring this success for data governance: data metrics and business metrics. I'm speaking broad strokes here. So some of them you can see, like how many records were created, that kind of shows some sort of adoption, data completeness. And we talked about having a dashboard for that shows data quality, how it's improving over time. Those are like data metrics. On the business side, you will see that how's my revenue changing over a period of time? What's my time to market for the new enhancements that we have? So these are some of the indicators that you can start measuring. All right. And that comes to the end. Like I said, it's a short, brief, barely scratching the surface. If you all have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Madina, over to you.
Thank you so much. That presentation was really good. As you said, we could spend all day here talking about it, but you went through all the key points. You're able to wrap it up, and in true architect fashion, was clear and concise. Thank you so much.